I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pakistan aligns itself with the statement delivered by Uganda on behalf of G77 and China. We express our deep appreciation to the Department of Global Communications, which is working actively under the able leadership of Melissa Fleming, Under Secretary General of the DGC. Over the years, Mrs. Fleming has guided the work of the department very effectively. My delegation takes this opportunity to thank her for the comprehensive briefing yesterday. We also commend the DGC for its constant engagement with the member countries in spearheading our efforts to combat the scourge of disinformation, misinformation, and fake news. Pakistan takes notes of the adoption of the global principles for information integrity on digital platforms and considers this adoption a major step forward in crafting a global response to the dangers of disinformation and hate speech. We are confronted with mounting evidence every day about how disinformation, fake news, and misinformation are being deployed with a sinister design to undermine the trust in and the legitimacy of the United Nations. The problem becomes all the more acute when seen in the context of rising geopolitical tensions, ongoing genocidal war in Gaza, and climate threats. Mr. Chair, there is therefore all the more reason that the DGC doubles down on its efforts to promote a call for adherence to the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and advocates for renewed commitment to international cooperation and multilateralism among member countries. The provision of timely, accurate, and credible information is a key to building relationship of trust in the work of the United Nations and fighting misinformation in this respect. In our time, information, and more accurately, disinformation, has become a powerful tool for sowing division, distraction, and conflict. Digital media is being increasingly used to amplify fake news and misinformation, often targeting minority groups and fueling Islamophobia. It serves as a justification for foreign occupation and aggression, distorting narratives to paint the victims of violence and war as perpetrators. Mr. Chair, the spread of information and knowledge has the power to enable peoples and nations to advance peace and prosperity. Therefore, it is crucial for the DGC to launch a sustained communications campaign in collaboration with member states and utilizing the extensive network of UN information centers to highlight the achievements and contributions of UN systems across various fields. Targeted campaigns on digital media, particularly in local languages, can also help reach a broader audience and lead to greater impact. We need to find ways to address the growing use of new technologies such as AI tools in spreading misinformation and conducting digital surveillance, which has intensified the challenge. Both state and non-state actors increasingly exploit AI technologies such as deepfake, generative AI, to spread disinformation and manipulate public opinion, thus posing significant risk to information integrity. The harmful impact of fake news and disinformation is magnified when states employ these tactics in situations of foreign occupation to suppress the voices of people denied basic freedoms, including the UN-sanctioned right to self-determination. Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and occupied Palestinian territories are a case in point. Central to this manipulation are internet blackouts, censorship, and restrictive media laws enforced by occupying authorities. These actions are intended to delegitimize freedom movements and create an environment of fear, intimidation, and violence. While the global principles for information integrity aim to create safer and more reliable digital spaces, their effectiveness is limited by challenges in terms of their implementation and enforcement. We also find the growing use of digital media platforms to target minority communities equally troubling. Such practices severely undermine the political freedoms and human rights of these populations. We must take strong, coordinated action to combat Islamophobia, along with other forms of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, negative stereotyping, and stigmatization in the digital space. Promoting messages of tolerance, peaceful existence, and interfaith and intercultural harmony is essential to fostering unity among all peoples. This is where the DGC should take a lead role. There is a valid perception that the global principles are often viewed as reflecting Western-centric values, which may not be applicable or appropriate in all cultural contexts. Countries with differing views on freedom of speech, regulation, and privacy may find these principles incompatible with local norms. Hence, there is a need for constant engagement between the DGC and member countries. Implementing these principles relies heavily on cooperation from tech giants like Facebook, Google, and Twitter. These companies, as we all know, are driven primarily by profit motives and may not be forthcoming in extending the kind of cooperation required of them to fight the scourge of disinformation. Moreover, these platforms often have conflict of interest as misinformation can drive high engagement and advertisement revenue. The DGC needs to find ways to work with tech companies to realize the objectives of global principles. While the principles aim to address misinformation at the source, they often don't consider the broader ecosystem of information dissemination, including user-generated content. We believe that the global principle should also address the role of individuals in sharing and amplifying misinformation and hate speech. Mr. Chair, the global principles rely too heavily on the responsibilities of platforms and governments. They should also focus their attention on empowering users through media literacy. Without addressing the root causes of misinformation, such as public's ability to critically assess information, these principles may only provide a temporary fix rather than a sustainable solution. The DGC can use a vast network of information offices to bridge this gap through sustained engagement with the member countries. I will wind up by expressing Pakistan's unwavering commitment to continue to collaborate with the DGC and other member countries to develop effective strategies and policies to tackle today's information-related challenges. I thank you, Mr. Chair.